Hello and welcome, Stand Up World, episode 50. I don't even know what episode it is, but Patrick Arnold does. Say hello to Patrick Arnold.
What's up, Mike?
Fresh from Boston. How are you, Patrick?
I'm good. We got a good episode today. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. We, I have to say, did you ever, I guess were you around when they were doing the Blue Collar Comedy Tour?
No, but since I've gotten into it, I've seen clips and just sort of know it's like one of the most successful, if not the most successful comedy tours of all time.
It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable how big it was.
It seems like everybody's trying to replicate it. You know what I mean? Like, but nobody can come
close. A couple guys did. But these guys really made it. It was incredible. And Bill Engvall he's really done it all. He's really been around for so long. I mean, I remember him from, I would say I started in the late 80s and 90s. He was just always around and playing the clubs and toiling around and doing like game shows and sitcom stuff. But the guy's just had a career, and now I guess he's retired, but his new special, his last special his new special is basically my last special, which I thought was great. And makes me think the guy should not retire because he like hit a whole nother level.
Right. He's too good.
He's too good. But I'm going to badger him a little bit about it. And it'd be fun to just talk comedy with one of the greats, and it's different because so many of the people we have on are really in the middle of the circle and using the path of today. And I think that Bill, even though he's more from my era, but I think he kind of feels like one of these guys that really just, and maybe this is why he's retired. I don't think that he's really gotten into the social media and the podcasts and the YouTube type of thing. He didn't have to, he was touring and making albums. I mean, the guy, he's had a couple platinum albums.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And books, and he just has such a huge base of a following that he kind of did it the old-fashioned way, and it still has been working for him.
Yep.
But I'm going to badger him. I'm going to say, hey, come on, don't retire just yet. But anyway, let's get it going. What the hell? I don't got anything special to talk about unless you do.
No, I mean, we're just here to talk about his special. Like you said, here's your sign. It's finally time. My last show is what it's called. It's on Amazon Prime, YouTube, Google. You can rent and buy it right now.
Yep.
Got to get that in there.
Let's get talking to him.
Yep.
Bill Engvall, how you doing, man?
Mike Binder. Mike, when I was waiting for this thing to get kicked off, I had a memory of you and me talking, and you had either just written or it was going to get made, but Coupe de Ville,
yeah, wow.
And I remember thinking, wow, okay, he's got it going on now. He's doing his stand-up. He's got movies. So you were my inspiration.
Oh, that's great. That's funny. That was a while ago. That was like 19. Had to have been
either late 80s or early 90s.
Yeah, 89, 90, somewhere in there. That was the first thing I ever got made.
and the rest is history.
That's really funny. Yeah, and weren't you just getting kind of coming out to LA at that time? I think from Texas or something, right?
Yeah, I was working at a nightclub, a disco, and we went. I started in Dallas, just emceeing that I pick you guys up at the airport, MC the show of the week, and then take you back to the airport. And I was laughing about that with a friend of mine the other day because no matter who it was, by the end of the week, I was taking on all their mannerisms. Like when Seinfeld was there, I'd be like, "So what's the deal with you know?"
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Yeah, I do the same thing. That's it's really funny too because and then finally when you just realize the best way is just to do yourself, you know?
You know, I'll tell you a funny story about that, Mike. When we were doing Blue Collar, for the 5 years we did that tour, the first two, I was so focused on trying to be Jeff Foxworthy because he had gone through the stratosphere and stuff. And of all
Yeah.
people, Ron White got me back to being just who I am. We were sitting at a bar one night after the show, go figure. And he said, Bill, I remember in the old days, I'd go on stage and I'd just gut the room, and you'd come up there with that slow drawl, and 2 minutes later it was Ron Who. And I remember thinking, wow, I had forgotten. I forgot just to be me. And you know, that was like you said, that's the key now. That if I ever talk to young comedians or whatever, I say you got to be true to yourself because. Like Leno told me one time, he goes, "Don't ever do jokes about things you don't know about because the audience will know."
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But I also think, even more now than ever, you just have to totally just be real. The audience they just want you just to be real, and it's like one of the things I loved about your special that I just watched your special, which I thought really was great.
Thank you.
And I really I liked it, but I was also sad. I was like, go, this guy can't quit now.
Well, you know, Mike, it was a 42-year career, and you know, if TV and movies were to come along, that'd be great. I'd be happy to do them. My retirement's just from the road, and you know, speaking to a guy like you, you know, we've been had when we were. I was telling somebody the other day, I wish to God we'd had YouTube when we were coming up because you know the way we got known was you just banged it out in the trenches till hopefully your name got around. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's. I was thinking about this the other day. If I had to start over today, I don't think I'd make it. And I say that just because what you were just bringing up is that you know the audiences are different now. Society's changed. I was telling a friend of mine that it used to be that stand up was the release valve. I mean, people came to a show to have a great time after a bad day or whatever. And now it just seems like I noticed it in the year about a year ago. I noticed it really starting to change. It seems like people go to shows just hoping you're going to say something that offends them, and so they can be a part of the show and holler out. And you know, I just don't. I don't want to do that. You know, I just want to do my stand up. You know, just like you know what you did and all those guys we grew up with comedically. It's gotten to be not the same way as it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I listen. I don't mean to contradict you, and you know the world better than I do because I stayed away from it for a long time. But what I was saying was I was watching you, and I thought, as good as you always were, you've gotten so good.
Thank you.
You've gotten just so at ease on stage, and the way you tell stories, the stories about the guy with the when you called the guy that was working in your crawl
Oh
space,
yeah.
with the my lover and just all these great stories and they're all so real and for me, I just feel like you know y- there's such a need for good comedians to be telling stories about this era of life.
Right.
It's like the guy figures out. It's like here's the analogy I would say. If a great songwriter finally figured out how to write great songs about the age of 65 to 75 and then said, no, but I'm not going to do it. you know?
Right. No, I get you. And I probably got off point there, but it took me a long time to become comfortable with who I am. And it's not an overnight process by any means. There was a lot of times that if I had to be brutally honest, and you said, "Who are you?" I would go, "I don't know. I don't know who I am." And now I've gotten to that point. And listen, if somebody comes up with stupid money, they'll probably get a Bill Engvall show. But you
Yeah.
it's as you know, the road. And any comic who's done it for a long time will tell you the road takes years off your life. And I'll be honest with you, when we lost Bob Saget, that was a big deal to me because Bobby was one of the first comics I ever worked with that was already established, and he took me under his wing. And uh, we lost him, I just thought, oh my God, I go, this is just not good. And not that he could have done anything different or anybody could have done it, but one of my biggest fears was, and I told my wife this several times, was one of my biggest fears was dying on the road.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, I know. I have a lot of guys have told me that, and I don't know if you know, but he was one of my best friends,
he was just
my
such a
whole life.
great guy. I mean,
He
just a
was he
great
was
guy.
a great guy, and he was, but in a lot of honestly, his death affected a lot of us,
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
which would surprise him. That no, he it would really surprise him because I don't think he saw it that way. But
Well, that was
and
also
for,
Bob's humbleness. That was the one of the things I always loved about Bob was that he never. I'm trying to think the right way to say this. He never took for granted, but he also was not even though he had a massive TV career and all sorts of stuff, he was always just Bob. It was like you never saw Bob act like he thought he was somebody. Almost to the point, almost to a fault to the other end. He was just very self-deprecating,
yeah,
and I wanted to. There was a couple of times I told him, a typical Bob Saget. Uh, I said, Bob, I said, you'll never know how much you influenced my career, and how much I respect you. And his answer was, "Shut the f up."
yeah. Well, I will tell you when he died, I think that was a, a real. I didn't do stand up for 28 years.
I know you had stopped because you were gotten into the movies and writing and
Yeah.
producing and stuff. Yeah. And by the way, you talk about me being a loss. I remember you had some stout stand up. So that was
And what?
some stout stand up. I mean, you were one of the good ones that
Oh,
people
thanks.
people.
I've never heard that term before. Stout. I just, I always just saw that as like a fat guy out by the
No,
bar.
no, no. You were one of the guys. I'll put it this way: I wouldn't have wanted to follow you on stage.
Oh, thanks. That's really nice of you to say. But here's the thing. But I'm same as you. I just never thought I never felt I knew who I was on stage. I was and when I started making movies, I thought, okay, I know exactly what I'm doing. Oh, I'm learning.
Right.
And and I didn't do it for years, and then I came back and I did that Comedy Store documentary, and then I thought, I don't know, I think it was sometime after Bob died. I just thought I want to do this because it's different now, and I think a lot of it is because I have a lot of friends that are my age, which is you're my age, and they're just like I, I kind of missed the part about getting burned out on the road,
Right.
even though I was on the road for so long as a young guy, but and I just see it from a different point of view,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know.
listen. Let me tell you. If I told you I wasn't going to miss it, I'd be lying because there are parts of it I do miss. I did an interview the other day, and someone said, "What's the one thing you miss?" And I said, "The murmuring of the crowd right before they introduce you, because that was what my juice was. Okay, now you bought your tickets. Here I am." And I don't mean that in any kind of sense of egotism. It was that was like I remember Rich Scheidner used to just listen to this like metal music before his show. My get up and go was standing off stage and just listening to the audience before they introduced me.
Well, listen, I think I also think I was watching the special and I was thinking, He's going to keep writing.
Oh,
He's
I'm
going to
still
keep.
writing stuff
That's
down.
that's going to be the problem.
Yeah.
That's going to be the problem. He's he's going to have an hour in about 8 months. And I don't know how a guy who's done it at your level stops without dying.
Right.
You're like,
I mean,
because to me it was like Carlin. Like Carlin would have said, "Yeah, this is my last special," and the only way it was his last special is if he got hit by a bus.
right.
And so
Well,
listen.
my
I hope maybe I'm wrong, but I just felt like, and I also, because I always you always made me laugh. You always made me laugh, and to me, I always felt like a lot of you guys, like when you were talking about that Texas twang and that was a cheat code. It's like for me, a guy like from Detroit, like, yeah, well, hell, if I could just put on a little bit of this,
I'll tell you one of my favorite
little
stories.
Ollie Joe Prater.
I'll tell you one of my favorite stories. You remember Jimmy Miller?
Yeah, sure.
So I was at the Comedy Magic Club. It was a Friday night. It was a late show, and that like those are my least favorite crowds. And Jimmy was there. I watched the first two acts go up and just get brutalized. And I went up and did my stuff, and I came off stage, and Jimmy Miller said, "That's my Billy. The tougher the audience, the thicker the accent."
That's right. Well, do you know who you remember Ollie Joe Prater,
Oh
right?
yeah, I remember Ollie Joe used to sit on a chair on the stage with a sheet around him while the first two acts were on because he got so out of shape and couldn't breathe. And so it was the weirdest thing to be standing on stage doing your stand up, and that Ollie Joe's literally 5 feet behind you sitting on a chair.
That's horrible. But when I knew him in the earlier days, and I actually knew him when he was just Ollie Prater. And I will tell you, we were all hanging out one day, watching football all day on a Sunday, and another guy had a cowboy hat, a beat up old cowboy hat, and Ollie put it on, and he was wearing it all day, and he said, "I'm going to wear this on my set tonight." And he was just always Ollie Prater, just wore a big t-shirt and no accent, nothing. He was from Jackson, Michigan. Okay, and he was there in Argus Hamilton.
Yeah, I
Argus,
remember
right?
Argus. Yeah.
Argus said, "You're Ollie Joe Prater." He goes, "That's right." So he goes up and he tells Charlie Hill to introduce him as Ollie Joe Prater. Okay, and he puts on a big Texas accent, and it's the first time he ever killed in his life. And he's funnier than hell, and and Charlie, I was standing with Charlie Hill, and he said, "I figured out how to be funny."
Yeah.
And he created a character that night, and he never stopped doing it again, ever.
Yeah.
But
You never know where that inspiration is going to come from.
and it's really funny. But so I'm getting back to what I was saying was I always thought you were funny, and I was always a little jealous of all of you guys, and plus all of your kind of the band of brothers you put together. But I also thought you had a great kind of like monologist thing, kind of a cross between a Carlin and a Seinfeld kind of a slice of life thing, but it's kind of changed over the years. It feels like it's more of like it feels kind of very what Carlin was doing.
Right. Well, and I agree with you on that. And there's when I talk to people like yourself about how are you stopping and stuff. I for right now it's the right thing for me just because after 42 years and 10 albums and I don't know how many specials. I was laughing the other day when I first started in this business. I had a well of material and I had that pointy shovel and I was just slinging bits everywhere. And I said, it's gotten to the point where right now I got that square face shovel and I'm kind of scraping the bottom going, oh, that could be funny if I worked at it, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
but what I tell you what's interesting has happened, Mike. Uh, when I was touring heavy, I never wrote anything down. It was just all up here. So I probably have lost 2 or 3 specials just because I forgot something. But it's interesting that since I've retired, I've got now a little notebook, and I'll if I think of an idea, I'll write it down. And so that in the case, maybe who knows what's going to happen in the future. Uh, but I want to be ready, and it also keeps the creative juices going. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to. I worked really hard at what I did, and that was the one thing that I was most proud of in my career was when I first started in this business. All I wanted to be was known as as a really good stand-up. You know, TV and movies and stuff, they came along just because. But I mean, you remember there was guys that they just used stand-up just to get to TV, and then once they were there, it was off. Uh, but I always wanted, I watched when I watched guys like Leno and Shanling. There was another one, Shanling, and Seinfeld and Bill Kirkenbauer. When I would watch them, I would literally. Paul Mooney was another big one. I used to love watching Paul.
Yeah. It was
I would
great.
just study how they put together an act, and I learned what I think from the best of my generation, and it worked out. But it goes back to what you said earlier. Until I figured out who I was, it was never going to be complete. I'm happy that the special when I did that last special, that was one of those ones that when it was over, I remember thinking I'm gonna miss this. But now I got grandkids and I got I miss so much stuff with my family growing up comedically that I can never get back. And Gail, my wife, has been there since the first time I stepped on a stage, and I want to see what it's like to be able to go out to dinner on a Friday or Saturday night, and not thinking, well, I got 2 shows to do in an hour, so I can't. So to say, I guess if I'm being brutally honest, uh, I don't know what's going to happen, but if it does happen that I'm going back out on the road, it'll be because I've really thought it through, uh, and or if the guys decided they wanted to get back together for a year or so. But yeah, there's parts of it I really do miss. It's there's some magical moments on the road that only a comedian can really appreciate because you had to have been there. But big laughs and just the one thing I do miss though uh, was there was a. Do you remember the newspaper that came out of San Francisco called Just for Laughs?
Yeah. Sure.
And in the middle section, they would have all the comedy clubs listed and who was performing that week. And you could look ahead and go, oh, I'm working with Binder. Okay, that'll be an awesome week. Or, if you're
Yeah.
working with some jackass, you just kind of get ready for it.
Yeah. Well, I actually think there's a part of it that you'll never get back to because like those early days, man, when we would all stay in a condo together and plus we were just young and messed up and it was okay. It was okay to have a drinking problem because you were kind of supposed to. You were
Yeah.
24, 25, and but to me, and I loved it.
Oh, yeah.
I had so much fun during those years.
Remember how happy you were when you found out you got free drinks at the club? It was just like,
Oh,
we didn't
Jesus.
have to. We didn't have to go out to a bar. And then there'd be somebody that would come and screw it up, and we'd have to.
We worked a city. We all, Bob and I and Coulier and Bruce Baum and
Bruce Palm.
I'm not going to say which city it is, but it was one of the first comedy clubs, satellite comedy clubs, and the cops owned the comedy club. A bunch of off-duty cops, and they invested, they bought it, and man, we would drive around with them after our shows, just
I think I know what you're talking about.
just drunk as hell, just driving, crying. We it was. to be able to just do that with cops and smoke pot, and we were just nuts. And that was, to me, it was like, in fact, I had so much fun at that club, and I was 19 years old, that one of the owners, the goofy one, would say to me, "How do you feel okay taking this check from us? You're making more than we are this week. What are you doing? This isn't right." And they go, "Shut up, man. Don't start with these guys all every week." And you go, "Well, shit, they make more than we do." And it's like, it's like, we, and damn well you had the best week of your year coming here. Why? I go, "That's what you guys agreed to pay us. What do you pay me? What do you do?" And he could never get his head around why he was paying a 19-year-old like $4,000 for the weekend, which was back then a lot, but not that much.
Oh my God. I remember being at a club called Jokers in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I was the middle act for Greg Travis. And I was getting $500 for the week. And I went in to get paid. And Greg was in there, after he'd done his punk magician and all that stuff.
Yeah, right.
And the owner paid him $1,500. And I remember thinking, oh man, if I could make $1,500 a week, I'd be like, there's nobody touching me. And now it's like you look at what's happening. But what's funny, and you'll remember this too, is like every comic's got that road story too. Like I had a guy try to pay me in coke.
Yep.
There was I'll never forget. You remember the Schneider brothers in Pittsburgh?
Yep.
So I'm on stage.
But I didn't work for them because I worked for Jimmy Miller's club.
Oh, okay.
The
Well,
club that Jimmy Miller had. Yeah.
I was at the Funny Bone, and I think it was Keith Schneider. I was on stage, and it was one of those like Friday or Saturday. It was one of those nights. Just the whole show was just on the edge of being out of control, but it was beautiful. And some guy goes, "Hey, it's my wife's birthday," and I said, "Hey," I said, "Happy birthday." I said, "What are you drinking, ma'am?" She said, "I'm having a Long Island iced tea." So I said, "Can we get this lady a Long Island iced tea?" So they bring her the drink. In the middle of the show, Keith Snyder walks up and he goes, "That'll be $4.75."
That's great. That's great.
But that's like you said, I don't know that we'll ever get those days back. But I can tell you this, Mike. Every night I thank the good Lord above that they didn't have cell phones with pictures on them when we were early on in the club days, because
Oh man.
oh boy, it would not have been pretty.
Oh man. Did you play the Comedy Castle in Detroit?
Oh my God, are you kidding? Mark Ridley's got that was where I recorded my first two albums, and the first one went platinum, and the second one was gold, and nobody ever touched them after that. I love the
Wow.
Comedy Castle.
Wow. Me too. That
Yeah.
was like my favorite club. That Mark, I was his first headliner.
That was such a great room for comedy.
I love Mark. Mark's a great guy.
I would tell you, say Mark and I was working the club one night, and there was a period in my life where I was drinking tequila like it was water. And back then, I had the cowboy boots and the jeans and the cowboy hat. And it was just after the third show on Saturday, and I had been drinking. I had had way too much. And then Mark said, "I'm going to get this guy to drive. I'm going to get my assistant manager to drive you back to the hotel." And so we get it in his Jeep, and we pull up in front of the hotel, and I'm turning to him to say, "Hey, thanks for the ride." And I went to step out, and I missed. And if you've ever been in a Jeep, they're up higher than a normal car. And I missed the whole step, and I mean just face planted on the pavement in front of the hotel front doors.
Oh,
And the doorman comes up and he goes, "You all right?" And I go, "No, but I got to get inside." It was like
that's a great room. I was just there recently. I just jumped up and just did a short set, but it was great.
Was it fun? Did you have fun?
Oh yeah, I love it. That's a great room.
Does Mark still own that room?
Yeah, Mark owns it. He's not there a lot. He's
down in Florida. Last time I heard, he was down in Florida.
No, he's out in Palm Desert, out here, Palm Springs, out in L.A. He's all over the place, but he's got he's come up to 50 years. He's had the club, you
Well,
know.
he's like Jan Smith at Igby's. That was like that Igby's and the Comedy Magic Club are uh,
Yeah,
my favorite clubs in LA because I felt like they were closer to what's out there on the road.
yeah,
You know, but I tell some of my friends who aren't in the business at all about, you get to a condo and first thing I asked was who was here last week, and if the name John Fox came up, you just threw everything out.
yeah. You just started burning sheets. Yeah,
And you get in the shower and like the soap would have hair on it. It was not a pretty existence.
yeah.
But like
I
you
remember.
said, we were young, we didn't care. It was like we were just. I mean, let me tell you something. Stand up was the greatest job ever. I didn't have a boss. It was just me, and here I get to go out on stage and make people laugh and have a good time myself and have cut up with the comics. There's not a other than maybe a band, but even a band, you got so many different egos and stuff. That's why comedy is so beautiful because it's just you.
But let me ask you something. You weren't super clean back then, were you?
Way back, I was probably dirtier than I needed to be. But I learned, what when it changed for me was when I finally realized that this is what I'd be doing for the rest of my career. I looked at guys like Bob Newhart and Jay Leno and these guys, and they were all working clean and working like crazy. And I love good. I watched like guys that were just filthy, and I used to sit there and just go, God, I would love to do that, but it didn't fit my persona. Early on it was probably just out of insecurity of being on stage, uh, and hoping they're going to lay. So you kind of tend to be dirtier than you have to be. But I will tell you this: that looking like I always said, whatever the last show I did, I was going to say everything I ever wanted to say on stage. And there was a comic you probably know his name is Gary Brightwell. He was out of the
I didn't know him. No.
he was out of the Comedy Magic Club, and he opened for me for a number of years. He said, "You'll never do it." He said, I did. One night, Ron and I went up to a club after we had done a show, and with the Blue Collar Guys, we had just done an arena in Omaha or something. We went to the Funny Bone, and Ron went up first, and he was doing Ron, and so then he introduced me, and I went up there and tried to do what he was doing, and it was the weirdest thing, Mike. It was like people looked at me like, "What are you doing? This isn't what you do," But I was trying to, it was like it just didn't fit.
Yeah, it's really funny because when I was kid doing comedy, I was always very clean.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
I'm not at all clean now. I I'm just not. I don't think like that. I just
Right. I get it.
it's not. I just that's not where I'm coming from in terms of that. I'm just
Well, good. That goes back to what we talked about earlier. Just being true to yourself. It's like
yeah.
I'm not going to try to fake you out here. That's and mine is just the opposite. If I went up there and tried to do dirty stuff right now, they go no, no.
Right, right. But I'll tell you a funny story. Rickles and Newhart were such good friends for so many years, obviously.
Right.
And right after Rickles died, he always used to do these events that Bob had for scleroderma at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel, and Newhart came in one night. This was maybe 2 months after Rickles died, and Bob would go through the audience with a microphone to say all the comedians and celebrities in the audience and let them say hello. And he went over to Newhart, and he had told Newhart he was gonna. And Newhart stood up and he stands and he starts talking about Bob Rickles' funeral, and he's almost doing Rickles.
Right.
He's talking about they had the Marine Guard were there, and the black guy and the Puerto Rican guy and this guy, and he was making jokes about him, and the audience is going, they weren't laughing. it just didn't sound right coming out of Bob Newhart. It was like
Right.
he was Bob Newhart, and he's making black jokes and Puerto Rican jokes, but
Yeah.
what he was trying to do is bring Don back. He was
Right. Right.
trying to make the jokes that he knew his buddy would have been making,
Yeah.
but they just didn't
That
work
was
coming out of his mouth.
Bob Newhart was the one guy. I tell you a story that to me was funny, but I for some reason I had my TV show going, and they asked me to be on a thing with Ray Romano and Brad Garrett, and like a TV panel about what's going on in the business. And Bob Newhart was like the main guy.
Wow.
And I was so excited because I was going to finally get to meet the guy that was instrumental in getting me started. So Phyllis Diller was sitting on my right, on my left side, and then there was like listen. I'm trying to listen, and Phyllis Diller sitting right next to me goes, "What's he saying? I can't understand a fucking word he's saying. What's he saying?" And I go, "How do you tell Phyllis Diller to shut up so you can hear?"
So funny. That's great. No,
But you know what, Mike? That's one of the beauties of this business is you look back at all the people you got to meet, and in an intimate setting, like not just like, hey, so and so here, like they came up and they talked to you, and just it was like I don't know anywhere else you would get that.
nope, nope, no. We were really lucky, and I was. I'll tell you a good story. Going back to Ollie Joe Prater, we were just kids, just brand new in the business at the Westwood Comedy Store, and Danny Thomas pulls up. You remember Danny Thomas,
Yeah, oh
right?
yeah.
And he was like a legend from another era. And Argus and I think it was Howie Mandel and myself. We're just like letting him just just listening, hanging on every word.
Yeah, God had just walked in the room.
Yeah, yeah. And Ollie Joe's like, he's just here to steal material. And this is when he was just Ollie Prater, and he had one bit. He'd get on his hands and knees and walk around. I'm a bulldog, and Charlie Hill says, Ollie, I don't think you got to worry that you're going to be seeing Danny Thomas on TV doing the bulldog next week. Okay, just relax.
Which is so funny because you remember the old saying that if Ollie Joe liked a joke of yours, he'd buy you a drink. If he liked a bit, he'd buy you dinner.
Yeah, that's right.
Because he was taking it one way or the
That's
other.
right. That's exactly right. He was projecting onto himself. He was like a Democrat. He didn't even know it. Right?
Oh man, golly! Now you're making me nostalgic.
So he was just what do you guys? Every time I'd come back to the thing because we were the doormen, so we could only take so much time. So I'd come in and out of the circle. I don't know. Well, what are you guys kissing his ass for? I said, Ollie, he's a living legend. Okay, he's Danny Thomas. You go, oh, you won't even remember you ever spoke to him. Said, I'll remember it the rest of my life, Ollie. I'm not sure I'm going to remember you.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the I think it's like it's so fun for me to sit here and talk to someone like yourself who knows what it's not a radio guy who doesn't have a clue what the business is like and what we got to do. And I keep thinking about what you said earlier about how we're never going to get that back. I mean, that's just in our memory banks.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that I think back about how fortunate I was, how lucky I am. Probably both would say how lucky I should have died 3 times over on the road, but it was just such an amazing career, an amazing experience for me. And I always, Mike, I always said I wanted to go out on my own terms. And this is the way I want to remember the good times and the shows that were great and the theaters and I mean, like with the blue collar guys, my God, I mean, we were selling out arenas. That
I
was
know
just
you were.
unheard of as
I
a
know you
stand-up.
were.
I mean, we held the record for selling out the Nashville Arena in 24 hours, and then like Bon Jovi beat it. But it was like I'll tell you a funny story. One night we were working somewhere in the Midwest, and we had all come from different locations, so we all had chartered planes. And for whatever reason, the promoter decided to get 4 limousines, which was stupid because we just all rode together. But the rule was after the show, all your stuff was in the car so we could beat traffic out and get to the planes. So we pull into this little regional airport. Not, I don't even think there was a terminal. And there was 4 private planes lined up, and each limo peeled off at a plane. And I took a step on the first step of my plane, and I looked at Foxworthy, and I said, "This is as close to rock and roll as we're ever going to get."
Yeah, it's
I mean, it was
better.
crazy.
That was better than rock and roll. That was better.
Oh,
That was better than rock and roll. I mean, I'm telling you, the Who, Roger Daltrey, the reason that him and Townsend fought so much is because they got to a point where Townsend wanted his own plane. Rock and roll, they never did that. They were all
no,
in one plane.
yeah.
You guys were.
Well, that was the thing that was beautiful about the blue collar, the promoters. Uh, they never did so many shows. They never tried to cram so many shows in that we ended up disliking each other. But I will tell you this: that the blue collar tour was probably the greatest learning experience of my life. Just because every night you had to bring your A game, because if you didn't, those others, we were like brothers. The other 3 would just pounce on you.
And
You
how
know,
did you always have the same order? Did it change or what?
We kept it the same order. At first, when I should let me go back. When we first started it, it was, and I had a modicum of success with "Here's Your Sign." So generally, it went like Larry, Ron, me, and Jeff. But then, as we all kind of started leveling out at the same level, then we just kind of threw it to whoever wanted to go first. And it was funny. I'll tell you a story that I found out post fact. I didn't even know it. Uh, we were in Houston at the Arena Theater, which sat about 6,000 people, I think. And my wife had gone. I landed, and I got a phone call. My wife had gone into the hospital to have emergency surgery done. So I said to Ron and the guys, he said, "You go first, and we'll cover the encore. Just get on a plane and go." I don't know if it was because I was not. It was the best show I ever had on that. I mean, I just smoked the room. And only reason I know
Did
this is
your wife
because
know this?
Ron looked at Larry and said, "I'm not following him." And it wasn't that they couldn't. It was just those sets you have, or
Yeah,
you're just
sure.
but they're putty in your hand. And but it was just that tour. You and I probably wouldn't be doing this right now. That really is what put
And
us
let
over
me
the
tell
top.
you, if I heard my wife was going through some serious surgery right now, I'd be much funnier. I would be so funny right now.
Well, you wouldn't even need me on the
I
show.
wouldn't even need you. No, no, I can see that. I could just see that. But that's really fun. That's not the kind of thing a story you don't want to tell her. You want to say,
No, no.
yeah, and it was the hardest show I ever did in my life.
Yeah, because what she would say is, "Well, why did you go ahead and go on stage?"
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. You did the show.
Yeah. What?
But you know
Yeah.
what's funny? The other thing I was thinking when you were talking, when you say we always talk about how hard the road is, how tough the road is. The toughest part of the road for a comedian is the early days, and because you with the traveling and the clubs and the condos and all that, but you're young and you don't care, and then
Right.
but then when you're older and you're traveling, it gets so easy because you're so taken care of. But that's when you go, oh, it's so hard. It's so hard. But
Right.
and it's because it's so funny. But you you die for that type of luxury and travel, you know.
I think, Mike, for me, now when I was just touring with, doing the club circuit, you always had guys. There was two other guys, so you had, you could hang out and stuff. I always tell people the hardest part of the job for me when I started doing the theaters and I was on my own was the show was easy. It was the 22 and a half hours you're just sitting in a hotel room. You don't know anybody in town. It's not like you can go see stuff and,
Well, did you
it's
take an opening act with you, or
I did for a while, but you know what, Mike? I got to the point I was doing 90 minutes to 90 to an hour, 2 hour music, so I didn't really need one, and I don't like to babysit.
yeah?
I had one guy, I won't say his name, but it's like I said, dude, I gotta stop making me ask, telling you 3 times we got to be down in the lobby at 8. It's like so I just kind of started doing it on my own because it just was easier. But
But that would be hard, though. That would be hard
oh
being,
boy.
you know.
You have no idea how many times I wish I'd had a band behind me going, well, this one's for us, boys.
Yeah. But by the other token, for me, I would just in a modern era, I would have so much to do with the podcast and running my platform and writing.
Right,
It's a different world. That's what I've found with the new comedians. And I got into this and I wholeheartedly got into it playing a young comedian's game with social media and a podcast. And they're, I tell my wife all the time, I'm never done.
right.
I'm never done. I'm always working on material or a new podcast or reels or editing. And these comedians, they say to me, a comedian today is like you're running your own company.
Oh yeah.
And they have to have so many skills that luckily I had learned as a filmmaker, and but I think if you see the guys, and that one of the things that I love about this particular podcast is I talk to all kinds of comedians, and a lot of the comedians that are working today that have kind of made their own kind of road to center of town,
Right.
but and so much of it is they're they're like they have to they've learned skills that we didn't have to have. They didn't,
No.
we had to get up and sometimes in the morning and go to radio shows. They don't.
That was it. Yeah, that was it.
That
And
was our
that
skill. That was waking up hungover. That was my
yeah.
skill.
Oh God, I would hate to think about how many morning shows I did still drunk
Oh,
from the night before.
me too.
But you know what, Mike? It's funny you bring that up because while you're right, we had it simpler, but now like I am so bad with social media, so and I'm not a big fan of it. Just like with Twitter and these, because people can say whatever they want, and there's no recourse. It's like guy comes up to you and tells you and the club tells you your show sucks, you pop him. It was like, or like you tell him where he can go. Nowadays, they don't even have to have any. There's no responsibility, and so but yet it's the necessary evil. I mean, it's what's
Yep.
everything's gone to now. And so now I'm trying to which you witnessed me trying to even just get on this thing.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
you were
like
wonderful.
I was literally like thinking, oh my God. And then when you said we'll send a car for you, I nearly wet myself laughing because I go, what I wouldn't give for that right now.
Well, that was the old days, man. It was so much simpler. They want you to do the
Ah,
show. They want you to do the show. They'll send a car. Okay, good.
let me ask you this. So here's an old club story that see if you had ever. Did you ever like generally what if my memory serves me right is Sunday night after the show, that was the staff's Friday night. They had Monday, Tuesday, and so I never forget. I always cringed when the owner would go, "Hey, the bartender's going to pick you up and take you to the airport tomorrow morning." I'm
Oh,
like, "Oh God!"
yeah.
And they were late or they didn't show up, and it's just like you can't. It's Monday morning, at 6 a.m. There's nobody answering the phone at the clubs.
Yeah.
It's just like,
That was the companion piece to I want to pay you in Coke and I want the bartender to drive you to the airport.
yeah. His DUI is long gone. He's good.
Yeah.
You go.
Yep. No, there was it got real dodgy. It got real dodgy
Oh
during that
boy.
period.
And you know what though? Like you said, though, we were young. We rolled off our backs like water off a duck. We just said, okay, this is what it is. I mean, we were just so happy. I remember the first time a club gave me a hotel room. I thought I have hit the big time because it wasn't staying in the condo, and it was like, oh my god, it may have been a Holiday Inn, but I didn't care. It was like I know the sheets are going to be clean.
I'll tell you, man, I was fresh from Detroit. I was a kid. I knew nothing, man. And I remember I was staying at the Comedy Store there at a condo, and there was another comedian, and there were two comedians in each room. And one of the comedians that I was sharing the room with was a gay guy. He was and he had a TV show at the time, so he was kind of famous. And it was fine, we were there. He knew I wasn't gay. It was fine. To me, it was kind of kind of cool knowing a gay guy. I didn't really never knew a gay guy till one night I go in and go to sleep, and he comes in with a guy that he met, and the two of them they get into bed together. They start making out. I was like, oh man, I don't know what I'm supposed to do now.
Not so cool anymore.
It was the first time I'd ever been in a situation like that in my life. And I'm thinking, well, okay, so if it was a guy and a girl, and they came in, what would I do? I said, I kind of get up and leave, let them have the room. So I get up. All right, I'm going to go out here now. Oh, is that pissing you off? What, you can't handle it? No, I just can't handle it. I just
That's why I was
and they gave me
was
such a
so
hard
excited.
time about it the next day. They were so proud of the fact that they walked me,
That's why I was so excited when I started headlining, because you remember the condos, the headliner got his own room.
Yeah. This was an era at the Comedy Store where nobody got their own room.
Oh no.
There were 4 comedians, and if there were 4 comedians, even if you were a headliner, you shared a room. And we didn't.
Well, and that also helped with the camaraderie. It's like, and of course, half the time you come in, you pass out on your bed. You don't know who's sleeping in the next bed anyway.
Yeah, that's what always happened with me. But it was just so funny. It was like, how do I handle this? Is such a new situation for me. How am I going to handle this? And I thought I handled it really smart, and they tore me up the next day. All the comedians, he couldn't even handle it. He had to leave the room. I said, okay, well,
I did what I had to do.
I did what I had to do, and it was so much fun, so funny to them. The comedian brought it up on stage.
Oh God,
it was great. It was great. I don't want to say his name because but he at the time he was a big name, and it was just,
now you got me thinking.
it was so much fun. I mean, I had such a great life, because I started.
Oh, we all did, Mikey. It was.
I started so young, I just.
Yeah, I mean, I was 22, 23.
Yeah.
And you were younger than me.
Yeah, no, I was doing it full time by the time I was 18, But
I forget where I was. I may be in Chicago, and I popped into Zany's just to say hi. And there was an old headshot on the wall, and I was like, "Oh my God, I don't even recognize that guy."
wow.
And it was me at 24. Like, remember that headshots when you used to send out that? And my other favorite was send me a tape.
That's right. That's right.
Send me a VHS tape of your act, and I'll decide if I'm going to book you
That's
or not.
right. Hey, so let me ask you a question. I saw the interesting thing that I also thought about your special was your son coming out and introducing you, which I thought was fantastic. First of all, he looks so much like you. He looked
Yeah, thank God I can stop beating up the lawn guy
He,
now.
he, he looks so much like you that the first thing came out. I thought, how'd they do this? And when he first walked out, I thought it was a bit that you guys had put together or something, and then I realized what it was. But he looks so much like you.
You know, I tell you, that was one of the probably most special moments in my career. Because he actually, because, poor Travis, that's his name, Travis. Uh, I was still touring heavy and I missed soccer games and football games and all that. And when he came to me about a month before we shot the special, he goes, "Can I introduce you on stage?" And it meant so much to me because,
Oh,
you know, that was just the cherry on top of the cake. And he did such a good job.
he
He
did
didn't get
do a
up there and
good job.
try to be funny.
No,
He just did. He spoke from the heart. And
he was
I don't.
great.
I told him, but I don't know if he'll ever know how much that meant to me.
That's great. And let me ask you, where where are they at on your retirement?
You know what? They're cool with it. My daughter especially because we're getting to go see the grandkids about every 6 weeks, and Travis is married now, and we just spent. I took everybody to St. Lucia for Thanksgiving, which was just a blast, and we hung out and laughed and it's funny, Mike. There was a point a few years back that we were having. It was at Christmas dinner, and I looked at the kids and I said, I just want to say something. I said, I want to apologize for not being here as much as I should have been when you guys were little. I said, it was just, I'm never going to get that back. And I just want you to know that it hurt me to have to be gone for that. And I got such great kids. Each one of them said, it was your job. And that's, when, as you know, when it's hard enough being on the road uh, by itself, but when you got a family, I don't care how good the shows are going. In the back of your mind, you're thinking, I wonder what's going on at the house. Is everybody okay? So you're never really fully committed to the show. But they have been so great, and and plus I'm making the time to go see them and hang out with them and play golf. Like my son and I play golf together, which is awesome. And they both married great people. I got two beautiful grandkids, and so it's just all going really. I mean, my job right now is just to stay out of the way.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I have I'm married for many years and have two grown kids too, but they don't want me around. That's different. That's no. No, that's
is, is Dad coming over? All right, we're gonna
yeah,
go.
that's right. Dad, go on the road. Go on the road.
They miss you on the road,
That,
Dad. Go.
but no, I know exactly what you're saying, and it's great. And I really thought it was great when he came out. I thought he did speak from the heart, and he was talking about you in a way that you could tell was so genuine.
Yeah.
And I, to me, like I say, I watched it. I love the special. I think I kind of feel sad. I feel like, nah. He's, the next one's going to be, okay, get over it. I'm back. But
That'll be the next title of my next special. Okay, get over it. I'm back.
get over it. I'm back. Get over it. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
But listen, whatever it is, man. I listen. I think you're great, Bill, and
Thanks,
I
Mike.
think you're great, and you 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 have had a great career, just a great career, And
Mike, I was telling somebody the other day in an interview that I achieved every goal I set for myself.
yeah, you
Other than Bill Engvall on ice, which nobody wants to see. It's it's
it
I
came
had
close
my own.
with the Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that boy. Oof. The it was it. I had TV shows. I've been on TV shows. I've written books. I got albums. I got. Uh, yeah, I don't know what else there is to do. And I always said this, Mike, that I never wanted to do this job just for a check. That's because that's not fair to the audience. And luckily, I've been blessed enough that I don't have to worry about that. So if I were to come back ever, it would just be out of the pure love of the business. And just because it'd be interesting to see. Who knows? Maybe a year or two from now, we'll see what happens. But it's right now. I got to tell you, I'm living La Vida Loca. I'm getting to do everything I want to do. We're going to Egypt. We're going to Norway, and it's really fun to get to be able to reconnect with my wife.
Well, wish you the best from me, and tell her that from my wife's point of view, she totally would have wanted me off the stage that night when she was having surgery. So you,
Well, buddy, this
you
has been really fun. I wish we could have done this live, and just person to person, because I always said one of my favorite one of these days I may try to put it together. Is just get a handful of comics that are my favorites and just sit down and just do this. Just tell road
yeah,
stories, and it's
it's so much fun.
we were blessed to be part of such a wonderful, especially when comedy was peaking. You know, it was every club was sold out, and even open mic nights. And we got to live through that and be a part of it. And
But
it's sure.
again, Bill, I hate to be contradictory because I'm not that guy.
But that's what you do,
I'm not
right?
that guy, but comedy's peaking right now.
I hear these kids now they're. I mean, I look like Nate Bargatze. I mean, this is a kid who opened for me for one of my specials, and now he's selling out arenas on his own.
It's amazing. It's amazing. But and every comedy club sold out every week, every amateur night. It's alive. It's really, we
See, what I need to do what you did is just if I'm in somewhere and I just go pop into a club,
yeah.
if nothing else, just to see if it's still there.
It's really, I love the energy of stand up right now. I could rattle off 20 new comics right now that I think are just stars, that are going to be stars,
Yeah.
and are doing really great stuff. And that's why one of the why I started Stand Up World, and what I'm doing because I love it. And
Well, and it's great that you do this. That you're furthering young people's careers. They get a chance. People get a chance to see who they are, what they're doing, and then it gives guys like me, the old guys, a chance to reminisce.
yeah,
So it's a
yeah,
beautiful.
that's what I love about it. And I also, I like to, like I just did a piece on David Brenner, a thing I like to
Uh,
make sure that people aren't forgotten too,
right, right.
because it's a great art form.
Yep.
We're lucky to be part of
It's
it.
the best, brother. It's the best.
So listen, congratulations to you, and I'm really happy. Good luck with
Too,
that
Mike.
special. You're third to last one.
Yeah.
Hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Mikey. Great seeing you. Love to the family.
God, that was fun. I truly could keep talking to him just about the old days. It really made me miss a lot of that. God, we had so much fun.
It really was like the Wild West, I mean, there was no rules. You guys were really the first of your kind, and everybody loved you. Like, it's really hard to not have a
Yeah.
fun life. And you're 20 to 30 years old. Like, it's like you guys said, it's almost, that's what you're supposed to do, is just be
Yeah.
young and crazy and
God, we
dumb.
had so much fun. We had so much fun, and it was fun. Yeah, it's telling stories. No, he brought up a couple names of guys I want to get on here and talk about it. But so that's great. So his special is called The Last One, right? No, no,
Here's your sign. It's finally time. My last show.
my last show, and it's up. It's on Amazon, and you can rent it on Apple, right? Everywhere, really.
YouTube, yeah, pretty much everywhere.
All right, great. All right, so that's it. Next week we also have a really cool show. We'll be back here every week. Just keep doing it. Just having fun. These are the good old days, Patrick.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Thanks a lot for joining us this week. You can get us on Apple and Spotify, and of course at standupworld.com, at X, at Poison Ivy, at Saggy Balls. We're at Broken Record. We're just in every one of them, right?
That's right.
Like, comment, share. You know what I'm supposed to say. I'm just glad you were here. Have a great week. Love you. Bye.